YouTube. Today we are going over the team that I used at the North American Regional Finals for the Players Cup 4, and while I'm not able to disclose what place I got physically to you, I am able to put a link to an official bracket down below in the description that is public. So if you want to check out what place I got, go check it out there, as well as the rental code. If you do want to try out this team, it'll be available for the rest of Series 9. And of course, if you wanted to grab the paste, it'll also be down there as well. But yeah, this is going to be the team. I'm going to go over a bit of the movesets, the file process. But let's get started. But of course, leave a like down below if you really did appreciate this video, and if you did enjoy these kinds of videos, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let's get started and go over the team. So first of all, how did I form the team of 6? This team of 6 was actually built by another player, Giulio Tarlo, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. And it was a common team in Series 7. If you don't know how I chose my team for the Players Cup in the first place, I literally spun a wheel. Yes, I spun a wheel because I didn't want to play ladder a bunch and play and stress about teams. So I literally spun a wheel and got this team that I really did enjoy using in Series 7 when it was the rule set. And yeah, so I adjusted it. I took the same 6 and tried to make some spreads. So these are the adjusted spreads and the reasoning for them right now. So these are the 6 that I end up bringing: Entei, Grimmsnarl, Rotom Wash, Moltres, Metagross, and Porygon 2. I'll be going over everything about like my choices for moves, items, and the EV spreads. So ended up going with Assault Vest Entei, which was on the original team with Sacred Fire, Bulldoze, Snarl, and Extreme Speed. I actually considered Stone Edge over Snarl originally because I thought Rotom Heat and maybe Charizard would be a bit annoying, but I decided that it might have been a little bit rare to face those certain specific matchups, and it wasn't that bad if I didn't have Stone Edge. It would have just helped, but it wouldn't have been necessarily game changing, while Snarl is just a better move in general situations. So ended up going with Snarl. The EV spread, it was pretty simple. I went max speed because I want to outspeed Urshifu, which is a really important speed number because of Bulldoze. I also wanted a chance to speed type Pokemon like Regigigas in the base 100s because it is a really annoying matchup with Regigigas. So being able to have a speed tie, and if I do win the speed tie, gives me a phenomenal advantage. I had 205 HP. I wanted some HP EVs because of the fact I wanted to be 5-hit KO'd by Dusclops Nightshade instead of 4-hit KO'd, which is actually kind of important depending on the situation. And for the attack EVs, I didn't really have a specific goal, but I decided to go with this benchmark because 2 Sacred Fires into Extreme Speed always KO Dark Urshifu if I always keep getting the lowest rolls. Bulldoze into Extreme Speed, if the Bulldoze is single target, will always KO Regieleki, which I really liked. And Sacred Fire and Extreme Speed KO'd most Elekis, even if they were a bit bulky. So that was basically the goal with the Entei spread: being fast, being able to hit decently hard, being max attack when it really changed anything. And the extra bulk did come in handy. So pretty much really enjoyed using this spread and really glad about moveset. And Entei was actually a phenomenal Pokemon throughout my entire Players Cup run, and it really did put in a ton of work. Next Pokemon, we got Grimmsnarl with a light clay set like on the original team with Prankster, Spirit Break, Taunt, Light Screen, and Reflect. I actually debated about having Taunt. Spirit Break, Light Screen, Reflect were guaranteed moves that I want to have for sure on Grimmsnarl, but Taunt was the one I was debating about the most. I had Scary Face and Thunder Wave in options, and I even considered Sucker Punch to activate Weakness Policy on Metagross, but I decided to go with Taunt because I felt Porygon 2 and Dusclops were really annoying for the team. Denying Trick Room I thought was really nice. Being able to help against Registeel because Iron Defense, Amnesia, Registeel kind of picked up. It was really just hard to like stop it once it got set up. So Grimmsnarl being able to taunt it and prevent it from setting up was pretty huge. So I really did enjoy Taunt in general. I also considered Brick Break as well, but Taunt I felt like was the most consistent move, especially as it helped with Venusaur. So I don't have to worry about like Sleep Powder immediately, which I felt was really nice. So EV spread wise, I went with 252 HP. I like maximizing the bulk of the Grimmsnarl, having 4 attack, 132 defense, 68 special defense, and the 52 in speed. I actually have quite a bit of speed, and the main reason I have quite a bit of speed here is because I really do want to outspeed other Grimmsnarls. Most other Grimmsnarls usually probably go for 36 or 44 speed maximum, and in a Grimmsnarl mirror is actually kind of important to outspeed because Spirit Break Wars can be a thing, and it could be really important having Grimmsnarl alive, making it a 3v4 situation a lot of the time. So yeah, having the extra speed on Grimmsnarl really helped, and it didn't really change any of the natural bulk. Like Grimmsnarl on the screens pretty much will take most of the hits you would expect it to, or Steel Spikes under Reflect, being 3 KO'd by most Moonblasts under Light Screen. And yeah, that was basically the goal of Grimmsnarl: being able to get screens, taunts to prevent any situations of setup, specifically Trick Room and like Venusaur Sleep Powder and Registeel, of course, And the Grimmsnarl did put in a ton of work. It was really nice to have screens on the team because it allowed it to be more consistent. And I didn't exactly get like crit a bunch, which I'm very thankful for during my Players Cup run. So Grimmsnarl really just helping out the team and its general bulk, which was like really nice. 8 turns of screen is fantastic as well. Next is Rotom Wash, standard citrus berry set, Levitate, Hydro Pump, Thunderbolt, Nasty Plot, and Protect. With, you know, pretty much a standard Rotom Wash, something I really enjoy. I love Nasty Plot Rotom Wash. It does a lot of work, and I've used it in previous tournaments. Absolutely love this Pokemon. I went with a bulkier set. I usually have a bit more speed on my Rotom Wash, as you can see. I went with max HP. I had screens, and I wanted Rotom to be bulky. 52 defense, which allows it to live like Dragapult, Max Phantasm, and just a little bit extra because I had the extra room to. 36 plus Modest is just like a comfortable range I'm at. It gives me an extra stat point. Where, you know, 141 to 143 if I had 28, and I really do enjoy it. It allows Rotom to be offensive as well, like a lot of damage to, for instance, Celesteela if I'm not even boosted, which I really like. Hitting hard Hydro Pumps against Incineroar is also beautiful. 36 special defense, a little bit of extra special defense, and 132 speed. The reason I went 132 speed is just to outspeed of base 70s that are neutral nature, for instance Metagross. And yeah, that's pretty much the Rotom Wash. It's a pretty standard Rotom Wash, very bulky, hits hard, and, you know, decently fast as well to outspeed like a lot of Tapu Finis, and again the base 70s. And Nasty Plot was just fantastic. Rotom Wash was able to help, especially against Tapu Fini, which this team it does hurt against. Bulky waters is just annoying for the team in general, which is what Rotom Wash really was fantastic for. Next Pokemon, Galarian Moltres. I believe the original item on this team of 6 was usually safety goggles, but I didn't really like safety goggles. It was pretty inconsistent. I didn't feel like Amoonguss was super common, and I had Taunt on Grimmsnarl for the Venusaurs, so I felt like I would rather have Life Orb in most situations, especially since the team didn't have a Life Orb. And I really like that extra damage output that Moltres can do, especially if I don't Nasty Plot right away, and I can do more damage with Dynamax. So I really like the idea of having a Life Orb. It allowed Moltres to be more offensive, allowed me to get like certain rolls that, like, you know, if I didn't have Life Orb, like for instance against Dynamax Dragapult, which is really nice. And yeah, I really did enjoy having Life Orb on Moltres, as it was pretty clutch throughout. So Fiery Wrath, Air Slash, Nasty Plot, Protect, pretty standard Moltres. I don't like having Hurricane. I know Air Slash has a chance to miss, but Air Slash is more consistent than Hurricane and wasn't worth the extra 10 base power just for a chance to miss, in my opinion. So yeah, I do like Air Slash. The EV Spread, I usually like Modest on Galarian Moltres, but I ended up going Timid. The main reason I wanted to go Timid is because I want to outspeed Regieleki at +2 speed, which was pretty important, as well as Dragapult after +1 speed, and I was only able to cheat that with Timid. So I ended up maximizing the special attack stat. I ended up giving 156 speed that allows me to outspeed a like Modest Galarian Moltres if I ever face those base 90s with neutral nature max speed. And it also allows me to outspeed Dragapult by 1 point, and the rest I ended up investing into bulk since I had screens anyway. It always helps to have like a bit of extra HP investment. And yeah, that's pretty much what Galarian Moltres does. It's just really bulky, fantastic dark type. Galarian Moltres was able to do a ton of work, especially after Nasty Plot. Like, just being able to Nasty Plot up, it helped against the Registeel once I taunt the Registeel. Really good against Sun as well. Again, I could taunt Venusaur and Airstream, which was really nice. And this thing with the extra Fiery Wrath with the Life Orb, but just, you know, more damage to Torkoal and the Trick Room users as well, like Indeedee and stuff like that. So yeah. And then pretty standard Metagross. We mostly know about weakness policy Metagross by now, having Iron Head, Rock Slide, Stomping Tantrum, Protect. Rock Slide was pretty interesting. I thought that Rotom Heat was a little bit too annoying, and also like helping against Sun I felt like was pretty important as well, being able to change weather so Venusaur doesn't always get Chlorophyll. So I really like the idea of just having Rock Slide in general. I almost considered Zen Headbutt for other Rotoms, but I felt like Rock Slide was more important than terrain control, as well as it could hit like Zapdos, for instance, which I also valued as well. So the main reason I don't have Earthquake on my Metagross, why I have Stomping Tantrum, even though I have a Levitate Mon and a Flying type Mon, is none of my other Pokemon have Protect. So that would be always a hard situation if I don't bring Rotom and Moltres, especially like if I brought Entei, Grimmsnarl, Metagross, Porygon 2, and I had to go for the ground move, and I can't click it because of the fact I'll be taking extra damage most likely, it wasn't really worth it to me. So Stomping Tantrum, definitely, I felt like, even though probably like Earthquake could have been fine, I definitely liked having Stomping Tantrum more. It's just a personal preference. So the EV Spread, 172 speed. This allows me to outspeed base 100s after a Bulldoze comes out from Entei and lowers the speed to -1, which is pretty important. Also allows me to outspeed Metagross after an Airstream from Galarian Moltres. Also could be important against Charizard teams. I went with 116 attack. Same reason with the Rotom, because it gives me an extra stat point, 185 to 187. I want to do a lot of damage, especially with the weakness policy boost. And yes, I could add extra bulk, but I felt like with screens on my Grimmsnarl and Entei to support if I get the Sacred Fire Burn and the Snarl pressure, I didn't really need the extra bulk to survive attacks, especially with, you know, all those factors. So plus the Steel Spike and the Quake boost on top of it. So I felt like I wanted more damage output, so I ended up investing in attack, but I still wanted some HP because I do want to abuse the screens and Metagross's bulk, and Metagross was able to tank a lot of attacks after like Steel Spikes, Quakes, especially under screens and Entei setup. So yeah, pretty happy with the Metagross. It did a ton of work, and yeah, the leftover investment went to defense. And for special defense, the reason I put 12 in defense over special defense is, you know, in case of situation of like facing an Urshifu, which, you know, could have came in handy. But yeah, that was Metagross. It did a ton of work, outspeeding a lot of threats, just really hard to beat with screens after weakness policy boost. Monda just spread so much damage, boosting up with its max moves, and yeah, really hard Pokemon for some of my opponents to handle in general. Last Pokemon, Porygon 2 with an Violite, of course, download over Analytic or Trace. I just prefer download personally. I don't really like Trace. I feel like it can be inconsistent at times, and Analytic ain't super great in my opinion. Download is just like better, especially against certain Pokemon. So yeah, having download is nice. Try Attack, Shadow Ball, Recover, and Trick Room. So I had Shadow Ball because I want to activate weakness policy on Metagross. It's what I ran in Series 7. I think the original team runs Ice Beam over Shadow Ball. And I want to Try Attack because I wanted Porygon to do a lot of damage. For instance, after a download boost, I'm like pretty much guaranteed to a KO Torkoal, which I felt like was really nice. I also had that option to Dynamax Porygon 2 and go for Max Strike. I think overall I would have been okay with having Ice Beam over Try Attack or Ice Beam over Shadow Ball. I think it would have probably been over Shadow Ball. Like, I could have probably activated my policy on Metagross a few times, but I never did. And when I clicked Shadow Ball, Ice Beam would have probably done almost the same thing as Shadow Ball. So Ice Beam would have probably been better, especially since my Landorus team matchup was it was all right, but it could have been better with Ice Beam, and my Garchomp matchup was pretty awful. So I would highly recommend having Ice Beam if you want to make changes to your team. Ice Beam for sure over one of these moves. I'd probably get rid of Shadow Ball, but it's still useful to have that option of like attacking your Metagross under Trick Room, getting that weakness policy proc, which is really nice. So the EV spread is pretty simple. I almost went bold Porygon 2 to survive close combat from Bandit Urshifu, or like a really good chance to. But the reason I decided against that is because Reggie Eliki is a little bit annoying to the team. So I felt like I would rather have some Spadef, which means I had to take out a defense. I also want Porygon to do a little bit more damage, as I didn't want it just to be sit there sponging up attacks. I actually want to do a little bit of offensive pressure. So I ended up going with a modest Porygon, but it's still pretty bulky with 156 defense and 92 special defense, which was nice for Eliki. Again, some specific rolls against Urshifu. I think it was some stuff about Wicked Blow that I ended up calculating for. And yeah, this Porygon 2 was a monster throughout the tournament. I didn't bring it much, realistically, but when I did bring it, it was just able to sponge up attacks, especially with screens from Grimmsnarl as well as boost from Metagross. I felt like I did not need the extra defensive investment, and like just being able to boost up again could make Porygon just tank attacks for days. So that's the main reason I wanted to go modest as well, and Porygon was able to do a lot of damage throughout the tournament as well. So again, only thing I would really change is maybe have Ice Beam over one of these two move slots, but it was a fantastic Pokemon that ended up putting in its weight. Finally, I'll go over some quick leads on how to use the team. Pretty much with your team, you just want to like set up screens or set up a position where you can, you know, have a setup mon for Nasty Pop with Rotom Wash or Galleria Moltres, maybe weakness policy boost from Metagross, or Porygon 2 gets up Trick Room so one of these Pokemon can sweep. That's basically your goal of this team. This team is very flexible, where a lot of the leads are very viable. You can lead pretty much anyone with anyone and it will end up working out. Grimmsnarl is a very common lead. Grimmsnarl was just able to do a ton of work with screens, pretty much helps anyone to set up. Grimmsnarl Metagross was probably one of my most common leads because of the fact that I could set up screens and then start boosting with Metagross right away, dealing a lot of damage, and then having an end game of like Rotom Wash or Moltres to pay off, or like can get an Entei and try to Bulldoze sweep afterward after I got the screens up. Grimmsnarl plus Entei is a pretty good lead. It's pretty passive, but it pretty much sets up for one of Rotom Wash, Metagross, or Moltres to sweep in the back, because of the fact that Entei can get the burn chance, Snarl to shut down special attackers, and then screens with Grimmsnarl. It's a really hard lead to break through. and it pretty much just sets up for Moltres Rotom Wash to start nasty plotting up once after the screens are set up and after Entei's whittled down and chipped away at the team. Entei is a pretty good lead with Rotom Wash, Moltres, or Metagross as well. Entei with Bulldoze, of course, with Metagross. Very common lead that I did if they had no answer to Metagross, and I was just able to Bulldoze and then follow up with a strong weakness policy attack and boost my defenses as well. It was very solid as a lead. Entei plus either Galleria, Moltres, or Rotom Wash, because Bulldoze doesn't affect those Pokemon, and then I'd be able to follow up with another thing. And also it was pretty nice to shut down other special attackers that could hit Moltres and Rotom Wash. For instance, when I led Entei and Moltres, I can go for a Protect Moltres, Sacred Fire, the Regieleki, and then follow up with Extreme Speed. So Moltres is more safe to go for a Nasty Plot, for instance, which is something I did quite a few times. And Entei plus Rotom Wash, very solid Fire Water core that, you know, is just able to help set up. They patch each other's weaknesses very well. Rotom covering the bulky water types while Entei covering the grass types that Rotom Wash doesn't exactly appreciate. Metagross is a great lead with anyone, of course, because you can Steel Spike and Quake Boost itself and its partner, which is really nice. As I mentioned before, that is really useful with Grimmsnarl and Entei lead, especially with the Bulldoze or screens. But of course, it can help with Rotom Wash and Moltres if they are able to wall the opponent's team while setting up a nasty plot. And of course, it's really good with Porygon 2. Porygon 2 is a fantastic lead because if you are able to boost the defensive stats with Porygon 2, which I did quite a bit, and they didn't have an answer to take down Porygon, it was really hard for them to break through Porygon, and I generally got multiple Trick Rooms up with Porygon in that case while chipping away at their team quite frequently. So that's a pretty strong lead as well. And Porygon, of course, a great Trick Room lead. Just again, Metagross, Grimmsnarl is a pretty solid, Entei's pretty solid, and again, you could lead it with Rotom Wash or Moltres if you want, but Trick Room was pretty nice as a second option. I didn't really go for it too much, but when I did, it ended up working fantastically. And that is going to be the end of the video. I hope everyone enjoyed this quick, thorough analysis of my team. I felt like I pretty much summed up every main point that I really wanted to. Again, shout outs to Julia for making this fantastic 6, and I ended up adjusting it to do well in the Players Cup, making it to the regional final. And again, if you want to check out the placement there, or grab the rental code, or if you want to check out the paste, again, links in the description down below. But otherwise, yeah, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about this kind of style of video, if you would like to see it for back-to-back battle teams. And yeah, at least leave a like down below if you did enjoy it. It really does help me out. But otherwise, have a great day, people. And until we battle again, I'll catch y'all later.